3, 2, 1.
Today on Animated Atrocities, we're talking about Jimmy Neutron. This was one of my favorite Nicktoons growing up. At first glance, it came across as simply a Fairly Odd Parents with a science remix. Jimmy was presented as a typical kid, but with a scientific mind that allowed him to do whatever he wanted. More than that though, the show was just plain funny. Jimmy himself is the straight man, a little bit full of himself, but the people around him help the show stand out. If you've seen one of those clips of Hugh floating around out there, you know exactly what kind of show this is.
Once when I was 7 years old, I sat on a banana, and of course, that changed my life.
You have everything from Carl Weezer's obsession with llamas to Sheen going full Ultra Lord. And you also got Bulby.
Vote for Bulby! We slap dance every day! Slap, 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 clap, 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 slap, 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 clap, clap, clap.
Is this offensive? I don't care, it's hilarious. These days it seems like Jimmy Neutron is really getting a resurgence, and I'm glad to see it. It's a show that deserves all of the praise that it gets. Fun fact, it's like the third most viewed episode of Nickelodeon. However, while more and more people are going to bat for the show itself, that can't exactly be said for one particular episode. And unfortunately, that just so happens to be the Christmas episode. This is Holly Jolly Jimmy. Welcome to Season 8 of Animated Atrocities. Like with any Christmas special, you gotta hit them right out the gate. Show them that you've got the Christmas spirit. Give the audience that full Yuletide blast.
And the next morning, this was all that was left.
Or give them a moldy Cheez-It, that'll work. The plot of this episode is that Jimmy gets all Neil deGrasse Tyson about the existence of Santa. Kind of like another Christmas special that I know. That one takes me back. It's a bit of a cliche if you get me. It's also a pretty stupid one. I get it. It's the obvious idea. Have your super smart kid think that he's smart and above believing in Santa Claus. But in a show like this, it just doesn't make any sense. Is Santa Claus really more ridiculous than a kid who builds a robot dog or travels to distant planets, or can breathe in space without a helmet? The fundamental flaw of this episode is that it tries to add real-world logic to a world that eschews it.
Jimmy, stop being such a Mr. Science Head and learn to enjoy Christmas.
Did a teacher, a school teacher, just say that? Yeah, Jimmy, stop caring about science. In my science class. And start believing in things that you can't verify. You're a spoilsport otherwise. How do you think she teaches math?
How do numbers make you feel? What does a plus sign smell like?
Maybe I can teach you how using the magic of song.
No. Whose idea was it to have Miss Fowl sing?
Fire as I sit and perspire. I'm cozy and snug. I sip from my mug.
I hope they got a lump of coal that year. So yeah, this song is utter balls. Like 3D balls. That kind of balls. It's bad and I don't like it. It's so herky-jerky, and it's the kind of song that makes you realize exactly why Jimmy Neutron as a whole didn't have very many of them.
How could a guy that fat fit down a chimney?
I don't know, how can you breathe in space without a helmet?
Last summer I was bitten by an eel.
Huh?
No offense to the voice actors, but most of them really can't sing. At least, they can't sing in these voices. I get that it's a tradition to have Christmas songs in your Christmas special, even if you don't have songs in any other episode. But I suppose that brings me to one of the bigger problems with Holly Jolly Jimmy, and that's just how not Christmassy it is. Have you ever seen another Christmas special that doesn't have any snow, like anywhere? Most of this episode looks like it takes place in the middle of summer. Jimmy is still wearing his typical short-sleeve shirt, everyone else is in cooling clothes, it's bright and sunny. It looks like Christmas in Waikiki. I understand that Jimmy Neutron takes place in Texas apparently, but it still does occasionally snow there. Even ignoring that, every single tree that we see still has all of their leaves. And even if it doesn't snow much in Texas, trees still lose their leaves in the winter. And it's not like the show can't do snow because of its 3D animation. At the very end of the special it starts snowing, and there's snow on the ground when they get to the North Pole, but everywhere else it's just Christmas in July. The atmosphere is terrible here, which is bad because atmosphere is one of the most important aspects of a holiday episode. Any of them. We want to see how the characters are celebrating, how the town dresses up and gets down, the crazy traditions that each character has. And here we see that the characters go into an ice cream shop because, yes, that's very Christmas. The Halloween episode doesn't have this problem. Occasionally you do see presents and toys and decorations, to be fair. But holy shit, is that a Game Boy Advance? I take it all back. I remember that. You kids today got all kinds of electronic devices, but can your smartphones and your Twitter X's and X-Twitters watch Jimmy Neutron episodes in 4 frames a second?
Tell me now if this involves any principals, policemen, or government people. Nope, not this time.
I didn't think so. If I could watch the whole series this way, I would. Anyway, where were we?
How could he survive survive the Arctic climb.
What are you talking about? Anyone could do that. You do that. In this very episode, as a matter of fact. In a short sleeve shirt. It is a very bizarre experience watching a cartoon. You know, a cartoon like this. Going full CinemaSins on itself.
How could Santa have survived for over 500 years in an environment of minus 20 degrees Celsius?
This would be like me, a man who works on the internet, believing that it's impossible to talk to someone in Latvia. Because that's just simply not possible. It can't be done. It violates all known laws of physics. So, Jimmy acts like a dick and makes Carl run off crying.
I'm sorry I hurt your feelings, Carl. I just didn't want you to be disappointed.
Oh yeah, that's another thing. Jimmy is really unlikable in this episode. I mean, being a man of science and being the smartest character on the show, he usually does have an arrogant streak. But this episode takes it a bit too far and just has him generally being an unpleasant jerk. Makes me kind of want to watch a different special.
But the world does not revolve around you. Don't be a jerk.
I mean, usually when Jimmy is like this, he's arguing with Cindy, or at the very least, his friends are in danger if they keep a false belief. But who cares if Carl or Sheen believe in Santa Claus? Why does Jimmy care? He's kind of... No, strike that. He is a bad friend in this episode.
Now that I've had some fudge, I feel much better.
You look better.
Get yourself a friend like Sheen instead. Seriously.
I just didn't want you to be disappointed by impossible wishes like...
Didn't someone say, like, that exact same thing to the Wright brothers? Like, isn't that the long history of what science is? People telling other people that whatever malarkey is impossible, and people being stubborn enough to not give a damn about impossible? Like, going to the moon, quantum computing, or faster-than-light travel? Also, Jimmy doesn't believe in Santa because he didn't get one specific present. A dwarf star. Why would you want this? Are you trying to destroy the Earth?
You were just naughty that year.
What are you talking about?
Wasn't that the year you almost destroyed the Earth?
No, you guys are missing the point.
Oh my god, you are! So, because Jimmy doesn't know how to let a thing go, he tries to prove that reindeer can't fly.
Unable to fulfill the requirements of Bernoulli's principle, it quickly plummets to the Earth, as would Santa.
Yeah, well, according to all known laws of aviation, bees can't fly either. Explain that one, Mr. Science Nerd.
He feeds them special kibble laced with jet fuel.
Well, that does explain the smell, and the ungodly flaming mess that I got in my stocking last year. Carl's rotten cheesehead ends up activating Jimmy's DNA scanner, which ends up baffling him.
Nets don't have DNA.
You know, except when they do. Look, Jimmy's the one who's going all blah blah blah, this is reality. If you don't want to play that game, don't take out the board. Because when you play that game, I am in it to win it.
Now, there's no way to prove that, short of traveling to the North Pole and scanning for the same pattern, and we're certainly not.
You went to the equator to prove that it couldn't be seen like it could on a map. This is not an inconvenience for you, Mr. Neutron. Also, Libby and Cindy get sucked into a box.
You have to be careful. Infinite space condensed into a finite area is highly unstable.
Why is that smile-worthy? Like what?
Santa's house.
Not necessarily. It could be a cleverly disguised army outpost.
Hello, United States government? I just figured out how you can win the war. You have to nuke Santa Claus. Yes, I'm serious. The Adventures of Jimmy Neutron. Yes, the one on Nickelodeon. Why do you ask? Sure, I'll stand completely still. What was that Jimmy's mom said?
Santa's not something you can prove with science. He does exist because he's real in our hearts.
Or you could just, go visit him, walk up to the front door and go inside. It's not even locked. As far as I can tell, Santa's not even a secret in the special. Oh, no, Jimmy, you were right. This is clearly the home of the Easter Bunny.
But Jimmy, what about the factory?
Ha! It's just a gussied up warehouse, Carl. Parents ordered gifts here.
So, Jimmy, what you're saying is Jeff Bezos is secretly Santa Claus. I am learning so many new things today. Also, Jimmy assassinates Santa Claus. It's funny, really. Murder was all that it took to get Tim Allen to believe in Santa Claus. But, no, Jimmy's just stubborn like that. So, Libby and Cindy are in this episode for, one reason, to humiliate Jimmy. And it's, such an afterthought. Even the continuity is completely off here. Jimmy sends the girls back to Retroville, and they decide to blame him for breaking Santa Claus. And they end up showing a clip that they weren't even in the room for. Also, they give a line of dialogue in Santa's workshop that they never said before they were booted out.
The big story this morning. Christmas has been canceled.
Oh no! That's the worst thing that could ever happen!
And it's all because of this boy.
Oh yeah, that reminds me. Hugh gets a subplot where he tries to introduce a world to the replacement holiday Pule, where he gives pies to all of the good little children.
Good children get apple or cherry, and the naughty kids get mince.
Wow, you're going full Krampus on their ass, I see. It works quite well until he accidentally stumbles on a couple having sex.
Merry Pule to all!
I don't know what a couple having sex sounds like. In all honesty though, Hugh's plot is the one redeeming part of the episode. It's actually funny, and his mimetic energy is enough to actually be entertaining. Him and Judy get the second song in the episode, and it's actually not that bad.
I'd shower you with coconut cream pies.
The problem with it is that it's only like 3 minutes total, and nowhere near enough to save the rest of the episode. Because the rest of the episode is about...
I'm just a regular kid. And if a kid can deliver everybody's Christmas presents using science, you'll all be forced to face the awesome, incredible truth: there is no Santa Claus!
Okay, let's see if I follow the logic here. Jimmy doesn't believe in Santa Claus because he thinks that it's scientifically impossible to deliver the presents to every child in the world. He's going to prove that Santa Claus doesn't exist scientifically by delivering presents to every child in the world. Error! 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 I am error! 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 I am potatoes!
What happened last night?
In our latest story, it appears that the nation of Latvia has just been nuked. Even though it came from an undisclosed location within the United States, the country's government has repeatedly stated that it did not launch a warhead at the country, even though lead officials claimed that they, quote, really wanted to. In other reports, Captain Planet is currently on the case.
Oh, one thing's for sure, I'm sure that has absolutely nothing to do with Jimmy Neutron.
So, we're about halfway through the episode, and I gotta say, like, nothing else happens for the rest of it. It's mostly just about Jimmy getting ready for his fly around the world where Jimmy, you left behind a few presents. 3 kids aren't getting their presents this year. Jimmy, this is bad. Jimmy, kids who don't get their presents turn into really bad people. I've watched every Christmas movie ever. I know what I'm talking about. It's what happened to you. In the end, it's proven that Jimmy can't deliver all the presents to the kids. And then their sleigh blows up. Carl's pretty happy about it though. Then the real Santa Claus comes by, saves Jimmy, and calls him fat.
Maybe I'll see you next year. Stay away from fried foods.
Yes, perfect advice from Santa Claus. Hope you're joining us for the rest of December. This holiday season is only the beginning, and I got tons of things planned. No, episode 200 isn't out yet, it's fallen into a bit of a production hell. But it should be worth it when it's finally done, in like 2 years. Was that sarcasm? Merry Christmas! I'm done here.